昨天在 EP Insights 我们提到了 Performance Review 的一些必备须知，那今天就由 Communication Style 的角度来谈如何该做个有效的 Performance Review。Hello， 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管与沟通力的 Podcast。I'm Sherry, an educator, certified coach, and style enthusiast. 我相信专业有效的沟通是语言跟逻辑的完美结合。
And I'm Nick, a startup consultant, corporate trainer, and late-night gaming junkie. I believe great communication requires the right mindset and solid frameworks.
我们希望带给大家职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。
Join us each week as we share our experience, research, and methodologies to take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Executive Plus podcast. This week, we're going to dial it back a little bit to something that we covered in 2 previous months. One being the idea of what makes a good manager when it comes to feedback and performance review. And 2, how to be a little bit more flexible with your communication style in the idea of social styles so that when you're doing this kind of performance review, the other side hears what you have to say more clearly in the way that they like to receive information.
That's right. And to open up this series, I think we should talk about the best style of all. 大家看不到 Nick， 但是他现在在做一个呕吐的动作。We're going to talk about expressive style, which is me. Let's talk about me.
In a true expressive way, let's discuss how to handle expressives in a performance review.
其实昨天我们在 EPI 里面有讲到，就是 sandwich 是 为什么什么时候不应该用shit sandwich 的方式，什么时候是 OK 的。说真的啦，我觉得如果你今天要给 expressive 一个不是很好，不是很 positive 的 review 的时候，我真心觉得 sandwich 是比较好的做法。Because we take things personally, man. Like, I can't help with that. We just do.
As a quick review, expressives are high on assertiveness, which means they are more tell-oriented, and they are high on responsiveness, which means they are more open with their emotions. What this means is that expressives also have a high tendency to need validation and to need a feedback loop. But the way that they get that feedback is also very critical because since an expressive is someone who openly shows their emotion and they're very used to interacting and showing how they feel, a performance review can get dictated very quickly because if they feel this is going to be just a negative, painful thing, they're going to bring that emotion, whether it's they're going to be anxious about it and bring it into before you even get started, they're going to already have that anxiety or that emotion on their sleeve. Or if they see that very quickly it's going negative, they're going to shut down everything else and just focus on that emotion.
I have to agree with what Nick just said. 但是说真的，我觉得 expressive 呢，我认识很多 expressive 来讲，因为我们是迫切的需要这种外来的 validation 常常会让我们觉得我们需要做更多。So I do actually know a lot of expressive that I would call perfectionist because we do a lot because we're hoping for that really good feedback. But by doing a lot, we don't necessarily do a lot of the things that tend to matter. We just do a lot of different things that we think it matters.
So does this mean that you can never give an expressive a negative performance review?
Yes.
No. But what it does mean is you do need to approach it with a certain sense of understanding. When it comes to expressives or amiables, 2 styles that are high on responsiveness, they're more open with their emotional. It also means they usually come in with a little bit more open of a heart exposed. So they're going to take things a little more seriously. Now, when it comes to specifically working with an expressive, if you just go into a negative feedback cycle where you just open up with all of the problems, 1, they're just going to absorb that. But 2 is expressive is a style that has a need to express, which means if it's very one-sided where you're just going through a laundry list of feedback, doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. If you're just going through a list, that's not how an expressive processes their own emotion or processes their own thought. It does need to be a back and forth. So treating an expressive with a little bit more of like a QA interview style performance review will let them say what they have to say. It will let them process their thoughts and emotions out loud, which is something they often need. So don't go in there with a lecture style review. Definitely open it up to more of a QA interview back and forth conversation.
I think letting the expressive talk about why they're doing certain things a certain way, it's crucial. 如果今天你不让 expressive 能够解释的话，他很快就会 shut down. 他或者会觉得说，那我就不想讲了。So one thing about expressive, I do think a lot of the manager you guys can really take advantage of is that expressive 其实在做任何一件事情的时候，我们的内心的 OS 都是 Am I doing a good job?Am I doing a good job? 我们都蛮希望有这个 pat in the back or like a little hey good job 这样子的行为。所以其实expressive 的人，你其实非常好去 motivate 他。Once you get to motivate them, they will do more. They want to do more and they are excited to do more. 其实我觉得很多的主管 只要掌握到这个原则，今天如果 expressive 他可能在某一些地方没有达到你的 expectation， 但是如果你们有一个 heart-to-heart conversation， 然后你持续的去 motivate 他，你持续的去为他加油，他可以是成为你的非常好的 like gold star of the team member.
So one of the things that you can also do with expressives is you can be very honest up front as far as this is actually going to be a bit of a difficult conversation. There are things that I need you to work on, but I'm saying this from a place of caring and a place of wanting to work on this together. By being open, then because an expressive is more open, they're probably more willing to absorb that. If they think they're just getting lectured or scolded, then they will shut down. But because that high responsiveness, that more open with emotion, if you are willing to be open with them, they are more likely to hear what you have to say. If you are just expressly critical without opening yourself to them, then they're going to take that much harder because they're going to feel it's like a very one-sided, like, oh, I'm here to hear what you have to say, and then you're just mean to me.
Yeah. And for expressive, since we are all feeling first creatures, it does take time for us to explain why do we feel like it is the right decision. We often just feel it is right. We follow our gut feeling. We do it. But sometimes if you're, let's say, your boss is a driver, your colleagues are analytical, they cannot quite understand that. And it's hard for expressive to explain why I feel that it is right. 他可能会需要大概一些时间，可能甚至一两天的时间，他才能够 process 这些 information. So definitely give them a little bit of space to explain that. And again, I think that's all expressive needs. We actually don't really need that much. We just need a pat on the back.
Right. When it comes to validation, expressives are usually a bit easier to appease because they are looking for some kind of outward appreciation for what they've been doing. That outward appreciation doesn't even necessarily have to be money. In fact, sometimes, getting a bump in a paycheck is kind of like a nice ooh for an expressive. But what they really do want is an oral expression from their boss of what is going well, what are they doing well, or something we talked about in the EPI episode, which is that appreciation and feedback should come consistently. You will actually find that expressives are very easy to please if you just give them appreciation and validation continually throughout the year. Then, even if your performance review is more critical or more on the negative side at the end of the year, that won't be the only thing that stays in their head, right? If throughout the year, you're just giving this constant validation, you're going to see the improvement that you're looking for over time, as opposed to if you just hit them with one block of improvement at the end of the year, they'll usually carry that feeling into the next year. So we've been covering a lot of what it means for, let's say, a manager to give feedback to an employee who's an expressive. But a good performance review at the end of the year should also have someone talking up to their manager about how they think their manager can improve or how they would like to adjust the working relationship. Well, if your manager isn't expressive, there are also quite a few things you can keep in mind when talking to them.
So again, I think for expressive, it's pretty simple. You just really focus on the feeling, the feel side of things. If you give your boss a feedback such as, one time I was really down and you were able to help me out and you said this to me and made me feel really good. That was probably one of the best kind of feedback that you can give it to your expressive boss because you really focus on the feeling and that's what they care about anyway.
Yeah, expressives do tend to be people, like they're people persons. So letting them know that they have made a connection with you. I think one of the harder things for an expressive boss is when another style, they don't feel as close to, or they don't feel like they have a good connection. It doesn't have to be friendship, but they don't feel like they have an open bridge to talk to that person, whether it's about work or about their personal life. But then actually showing your manager that's like, oh, no, there's been an open bridge. I hear what you have to say. That's important to an expressive, that they feel heard. Then they're probably more willing to talk to you. Another thing that you can do when talking to an expressive manager is expressives have the tendency to think out loud, and they're thinking while they're talking. Well, if you're a style that really cares about structure, then rather than expecting your expressive manager to have a very structured conversation with you, is you can bring your own structure into the meeting and just let the person give feedback sort of based on, again, that intuition, based on what they want to say. But if you just ask them, like, you outline my performance review, what went well, what do I need to improve on, what are my KPIs, that might be difficult for that manager's communication style to be clear. But if you need that, then you can bring it into the meeting. Be like, the first thing I would really like to know is what things do you think I'm doing well? Then let that expressive manager brain dump. Then you can ask the next question, which would be I think there are places you would like me to show improvement. Could you talk about what those were and how I have handled that? And then again, just let them talk out loud, let them brain dump. And then even going into, okay, is there anything I can share with you to let you know how I feel? And then let them talk about what they would like to know, and then you can bring it. So let's say you're an analytical, let's say you're a driver. If you bring the questions, you bring the structure into the meeting, you will get the feedback you want, but you won't restrict the expressive from sharing what's on their mind. So looking at how expressives communicate from both sides, let's just say if you are a manager who is talking to an expressive on your team, then really considering, again, being open when you talk to them versus, let's say your manager is an expressive and you are a different style and you want to bring structure to that meeting. Really understanding how an expressive thinks is a critical part of communication, especially in these more difficult, let's say, performance review times. So if you haven't had a chance, go back, listen to some of our episodes from our Social Styles Month, get a better sense of who you think your boss or your team's social style is, and then think about that when going into your performance review. Throughout the month, we'll cover other styles, so join us for that. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The Executive Plus podcast is a Presentality Group production. Produced and hosted by Sherry Fang and Nick Howard. You can search us on Facebook, 主管英文 Executive Plus. You can also find us on Instagram, Communication R&D, and email us at sherry@epstyleplus.com.